Gerardo Cervantes coming out for the first bout in his flyweight sub 52 kilo class. World ranked number 5, just 21 years old, 3-2 in his WSB career.
Aziz dostlar, rəqib güclüdür, titulludur, amma məğlub edilməz deyil. Özü də onların sizin kimi azarkeşləri yoxdur. Ona görə bugün sərhədçidə bizim səsimiz çıxmalıdır ki, bütün dünya televiziya vasitəsilə səsimizi duysun, komandamızın qələbəsini uğurunu görsün. Qırmızı küncə dəvət olundu.
Silver medalist in the 2010 European Championships in Moscow.
Yığma komandamızın
Years ago, 2-1 in the WSB. Both wins coming at home. His lone loss was to the undefeated Andrew Selby at the quarter-final stage. Selby, one of the world's best boxers at the flyweight division. So out comes Elvin MAMISHZADA, ranked number 9 in the WSB. These two very well matched. Well, Will, yesterday we saw the same story almost time and time again. The Azeri boxer marching forward on the front foot, trying to pressure the Cubans, and the Cubans, well, going in a counter-attacking style, moving beautifully around the ring. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't.
Well, it is a real clash of styles. The Azeris come forward almost four-wheel drive. They're very aggressive. They come in behind tight guards. They work very much off the front foot. The Cubans, by contrast, very, very relaxed, very, very mobile, very agile. They put a huge emphasis on their evasive skills, and they almost treat that with the same importance as hitting, you know, not being hit. But we saw a lot of classy boxing yesterday and a lot of silky skills. However, it's a great contrast that works for the Fires, because we know what the scoreline was across the 5 matches, 3-2.
Mr. Mick Bassey of England is our referee in charge.
Keep your heads up, keep your punches up, no punching on the back of the head and no holding. Shake hands, good luck.
Well, very much like yesterday, Cuban comes out with a considerable reach advantage. A tall, rangy athlete. The Azeri shorter, stockier, and with plenty of power. We've seen that in the WSB. So we're underway. 5 3-minute rounds. The Cuban in the white and gold, Cervantes, up against MAMISHZADA in the black and fire.
Now, MAMISHZADA is very small at the weight, actually, but he's going to take some confidence from the fact that Cervantes has lost by TKO this season. That was to Russia's Bakhtovar Nazirov in week 8. So, although being small for the weight class, he's going to rely heavily on speed. And, well, he has got a stocky build, and we know that the Azeris come forward full throttle. He's going to get inside, work on the inside, and pressure straight away, right from the get-go.
Perhaps not holding quite as tight a guard as his compatriots, the Azeri here. The Cuban with his hands lower down, just as we saw yesterday. Often turning square on and then dancing away. Swapping from orthodox to southpaw. The Cubans are so tricky.
Well, blistering hand speed from both fighters, and Cervantes also as well from the get-go, very, very fast, and we've seen some very, very good hooks that have just emanated from absolutely nothing. That relaxed guard round the hips, and then bang, up come the arms. But now we're seeing both fighters tighten it up a little bit and start to work off the front foot. The Cubans pressurizing the Azeri, which we didn't expect actually from the start, but just look at that counter. Great body shot, and he really needs to drop the hands of Cervantes if he's going to get to work here, MAMISHZADA. Well, it's MAMISHZADA that's showing us the evasive skills there. So out to demonstrate from the get-go to Cervantes that, you know, I can handle what you've got.
Well, there's a considerable reach advantage here for the Cuban. And right now he's got him at range, which is exactly where he wants him.
full of confidence, MAMISHZADA. And that'll be in the back of Cervantes' mind. The fact that he has been hurt, and he was hurt there!
Oh, wow, he's twisted his ankle quite badly there. I hope it's nothing too bad. It looks like he's hobbling a bit on his right leg. He could be in some trouble here.
Crisp right hand there, Colin.
Well, the Azeri managed to get a standing 8 there, and Cervantes seems to have got himself back into this fight. Dangerous
moments there for Cervantes. It was a damaged leg, the ankle's giving way, but good pressure from the Azeri.
Well, he seems in all kinds of trouble here, Cervantes. He's going backwards all the time. I think he's done some kind of damage here, and well, as he sits down, suddenly the pain might start to come here. Let's see that again. Well, it was certainly going the way of the Cuban early on. He was looking slick, skillful. And right there, that's when he went over on that right leg. We will get a wide angle.
It looked as if there was a right-hand shot that preceded it, but it was just a twist there. But he certainly took a big right hand later on, and that was from the weakened position from the injury to the ankle. Let's hope the corner can do something with it.
Well, look at that. MAMISHZADA. I bet he never thought he'd have a 10-8 opening round on 2 of the judges' scorecards. 10-9 on Judge A. And, well, considering the first minute and a half were really the Cubans, but he did get a standing 8. I think that's probably a fair reflection of what just happened there.
I think the judges called it right there, absolutely. And maybe a bit harsh with the 10-8, but certainly the round 2, MAMISHZADA.
Well, if he has hurt his right leg, it's going to be very hard to start employing the right hand here. He's going to have to really work heavily off his jab. Cervantes, the Cuban.
Great boxing skills from MAMISHZADA. He's getting under the hands and under the guard of Cervantes. Cervantes on the back foot here, really struggling to keep pace with MAMISHZADA. MAMISHZADA testing those big hooks coming outside the guard. Solid connections as well from MAMISHZADA when he does land the shots. Well, this is not going well for Cervantes.
Well, this is not the position I think the Cubans thought they'd find themselves in the middle of round number 2. Cervantes, probably on paper and in most people's minds, was going to come out here and win this, and he looked brilliant in the first half of the first round, but this injury to his right leg, I'm assuming it's injured anyway, it certainly looks pretty sluggish at the moment. Struggling to twist it in for using the punch in his right hand.
Well, it still looks like it's troubling him, but this is joined up boxing from MAMISHZADA. He's really given Cervantes something to think about here. The Cuban really didn't think this was going to be the opening that he expected, and now standing off MAMISHZADA, trying to make Cervantes work and use that injured leg in the hope maybe that it'll tire him or expose him.
I think for Cervantes, he needs to start using that reach advantage just to avoid a dust-up in the centre of the ring. Work that jab as much as possible.
Well, hit and run from MAMISHZADA, and he's happy just to get engaged for a while, then on his bike and start to move. And he's got great evasive skills, MAMISHZADA. A complete contrast to what we saw yesterday with a lot of the Azeri fighters, just standing, trading punches. I mean, we had some real toe-to-toe, full-on slugfest going on, but MAMISHZADA come to this with a different tactic, and I think that's thrown Cervantes. However, it's round 2 across 5, and the Cuban might be able to turn it around.
He's boxing very square on now, the Cuban, I think in an attempt to be able to use both arms. He'll be unable to really, if he has damaged his right ankle, drive through and twist his hip in for a big right hand, so he's just turned square on there for an attack. And Well, that was a fascinating round. Actually, the Cuban, especially in the end there, was really pushing forward. And the AIBA judges do like ring dominance.
Absolutely. And, you know, to show aggression against an Azeri Baku fire boxer, that's always going to put you in good stead. And we just got a chance to see at the closing stages how Cervantes came and tried to dominate MAMISHZADA.
Well, MAMISHZADA's early work there in round number 2 has given him the nod on all of the judges' scorecards, 10-9 across the board, but at least Cervantes has steadied the ship somewhat.
Well, if he can pull it back now and perform very well across the next 3, which is not impossible, they're very evenly matched. It's just a case of Cervantes getting the numbers right, really.
Round number 3. Üçüncü round.
Well, if he is injured, he's putting on a brave face. Gerardo Cervantes as we come out for round number 3. The Cuban in the white and gold, down at the moment by quite some margin against MAMISHZADA in the black and fire for the Azeris. And MAMISHZADA now, I think he's actually playing quite a smart game here. He's just pulling back a little bit. He realizes he can't just go straight in and finish this off now, and he's got quite a good points lead.
This is a different skill set we're seeing from MAMISHZADA, and it is joined up. It's very smart. Cervantes knows he's got the work to do, so he's putting the pressure on. And actually what we're seeing from Cervantes is what you'd expect to see from an Azeri boxer. It's good effort. If he can get it right, he can pull the next 3 rounds back. Well, he might be able to turn this around.
You can almost sense a touch of desperation about Cervantes, knowing that he's had a standing 8 in the first round, probably had the better taken out of him in the second. And he's come charging out here in the third, desperate to get this going. MAMISHZADA just happy to cruise along now and counter.
So actually, Cervantes comes to this with the huge psychological disadvantage, as I said, of having that TKO. That was in week 8, and he took the loss against Bakhtovar Nazirov. But then his next bout against Eros Correa was a walkover. So he's had no time to resettle in the ring and to gain that ring confidence back. MAMISHZADA very much a class act here, really boxing well. I mean, we talk about the boxing skills of the Cubans, but you know, there ain't no free ride in WSB, and to get to the final in what was dubbed the group of death, the Russian boxing team, the Kazakhstan Astana Arlands, the Baku Fires, I mean, it was a real tough pool group, and the boys from
the Guerreros, of course, the Mexico Guerreros, who were one of the best WSB teams over the last few years. They were made to look pretty ordinary in the group. It was really a phenomenal lineup in Group B. There's the Polish Hussars as well. Well, Cervantes still marching forward here, but evasive as ever. MAMISHZADA slips the punch and gets away. 10 seconds to go in round 3, and it'll be a tricky one to call. MAMISHZADA on the counter has been excellent, but Cervantes very aggressive.
It'll be interesting to see how the judges find this, to see if Cervantes has managed to pull himself back into this fight. He needs this round desperately. It's pivotal, and the work we're seeing from the tail of the tape is good.
Well, it could even be a split decision here. You have to be impressed with the way Cervantes has tried his very best, but a lot of punches thrown, not so many hits. Well, there you go, split decision, 10-9. 2 judges went with Elvin MAMISHZADA, and Judge B went with Cervantes. So 30-26 on Judge C's scorecard. That's almost unassailable now. So for Cervantes, his hope is perhaps he can get Judge A and Judge B on his side over the next 2 rounds and maybe win 1 round with some real dominance, but Hard to see. So underway, round number 4. Cervantes, the Cuban, who is visibly hobbling there on his right leg, twisted it badly in the first round after having made a brilliant start. He's now trying to play catch-up.
Well, in round 3, Cervantes really upped his workload and put pressure on MAMISHZADA. I thought it was probably enough for him to win the round. It's just an indicator, I think, of how much work he's got to do. And at this stage, almost unassailable to try and pull that back, unless, of course, he removes the judges from the equation. And, you know, we see the possibility of a TKO. Although MAMISHZADA, well, never come close to it. Only the one loss on points, and that was against Andrew Selby. And as you said, Colin, Andrew Selby's a class act. And I think if Selby couldn't put him away, maybe Cervantes just might not have enough going for him today to do that.
Especially when, if you need a big power punch, you need a good base to throw it off of, and if one of your legs is a little lame, then, oh, just getting chucked onto the ropes there. The Azeri, who looks fresh as a daisy.
I think that's a big indication of where the confidence and the power lies. I mean, the confidence over-brimming now from MAMISHZADA. Let's not forget, this is the final of the WSB Championships. It's crucial, and for a Cuban fighter to be treated almost disrespectfully by MAMISHZADA in this way is just a huge confidence indicator.
It's very similar to what Yazbani Veitia did yesterday, sticking his head out, allowing the Azeri to come on. That was Gurbanov, and, well, things have turned around here. This time it's the Azeri who's sticking his head out. Cervantes just can't hit it. It's brilliant boxing by MAMISHZADA.
Absolutely brilliant demonstration, and a strong round against again for MAMISHZADA. And Cervantes really just doesn't have a strategy, moves off, has a little look again to see what he can do, but MAMISHZADA just making life so difficult for Cervantes, and Cervantes does not have the answer. Landed a shot there. It kind of lacked power. It was fast, but it wasn't solid. It wasn't solid enough, certainly, to keep MAMISHZADA in the corner, which is where Cervantes may be able to do some work.
I mean, it's got to be said, though, Cervantes, he's just a different fighter than what he was in the first round. That injury has clearly taken its toll. He's not moving well at all compared to what we saw in the first round. Just tuned in, you would see a Cuban fighter that looks perfectly fine here, but he really isn't, not compared to what he was. He looked magnificent in the opening 2 minutes of round 1, and now he's just flat-footed, desperately trying to come forward to close this gap, having twisted his ankle in the first round. We saw him go over on it very heavily and then stagger a couple of times on it just a few seconds after. MAMISHZADA then takes round 4, 10-9 across the board, and well, this one is all over unless Cervantes can get some kind of a KO here.
MAMISHZADA, very smart, keeping out of trouble. He knows that the scoring has probably gone his way in the majority of rounds, and realizes that Cervantes is struggling on that leg, although it's a fantastic cover-up job from the Cuban. You know, this is definitely a case of not showing any indication of hurt or pain, but MAMISHZADA is just keeping him moving all the time, Cervantes, and making him work that injured ankle.
Yeah, the way he went over on it in round 1, you wouldn't be surprised if you read a story in the next couple of days that Cervantes was on crutches. It was that bad. I think he's going on adrenaline here, buoyed up by the fact that this is the WSB finals. And I think it's been a particularly brave performance by Cervantes, who is getting soundly beaten now by MAMISHZADA, who can just evade the punches at will so much quicker.
Well, it's absolutely incredible. The 5th and final round in this, our first opening bout, pitching Cervantes against MAMISHZADA. The scoreline yesterday of 3-2 in favour of Cuba. That was even closer than a lot of people thought. But, you know, the boys from Baku here, the Fires, They're tough cookies to beat on home ground, and they come with a lot of heart and a lot of national pride here. Of course, Azerbaijan hosting the finals. The Cubans suffering possibly from the fact that it's a 2-day journey to Cuba, to Azerbaijan from Cuba, but that won't detract from the fact that Cervantes here injured himself early on in that first round with that twisted ankle. And just look at MAMISHZADA. This is the most mileage I've ever seen a boxer do over 5 rounds, and I mean it's almost a mini marathon. MAMISHZADA knows he's got to keep Cervantes walking on that injured leg.
And Cervantes managed to catch him with a good left hand there, and he had him in the corner. Just over a minute to go. MAMISHZADA is dancing away. This couldn't be any more opposite to the Azeri boxers of yesterday, who just put it into one mode, and that was forward constantly.
Great evasive skills, MAMISHZADA. Turns his man again. Cervantes really off form. I mean, as you said, Colin, we'll find out later just the degree to which that has affected his abilities here. But just look at this. He's looking lumpen, lead-footed, limping now, and with just over half a minute left, it's the Elvin MAMISHZADA show.
Cervantes still chucking some left hands now. MAMISHZADA is doing a little bit of showboating. And I'm not sure it's actually fair on Cervantes, because he was definitely the faster of the two before he got injured. And it must be so frustrating for the Cuban. But in the history books, Elvin MAMISHZADA, the Azeri, will have beaten him pretty badly on the scorecards at the end of this. No doubt he's taken that last round as well.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see again how the judges... Well, I don't think it will be interesting. I think we know what the result is going to be. It was just the writing was on the wall from the third round in that MAMISHZADA was going to keep moving and make Cervantes work, and I think Cervantes' face says it all.
We have to be impressed with the way MAMISHZADA didn't just go full throttle in for the kill, as it were, after that twisted ankle, and burned himself out, because it would have been then possible for the Cuban to pull it back. Instead, perfect tactics, just danced away. Well, let's have a listen.
49-45. Judge P, 15-44. The winner is
Elvin
MAMISHZADA!
We knew he was going to win. It was impossible for Cervantes to pull that back in the final round, and probably the judges will have given the final to the Azeri. Yes, they have. 10-9 across the board. Look at that. Judge C, 50-44. That's every round. And one of the rounds, 10-8 because of that. Standing 8 that Cervantes received in the first round. So, things are 3-3 now in this WSB finals. 4 bouts to go. And the big favourites, the Cubans, suddenly aren't looking as solid. But they do have 3 world champions, one of them, Sotolongo, an Olympic champion too, in their arsenal.
France.